Welcome back. Another edition of CSGA 15 Minutes with. This time we're joined by Dave Pezzino, the 13th year head coach of the UConn golf team, two-time coach of the year, as voted on by the New England Division I golf coaches. Dave, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to join us today.
Yeah, no problem. Honored to be a part of anything the CSGA is doing.
Right, we're happy to have you. So, Dave, since taking over at UConn, you've built the program into a consistent winner and a high finisher. During your tenure at UConn, your teams have picked up 12 tournament wins, consistently finished in the top half of tournament fields. What has been the key to success since taking over at the University of Connecticut?
Well, I think you got to recruit the right people. Sam, and we've been lucky. We've had a great group of young men come through the door since I've been here and even before me. But I think you got to get hardworking guys that understand the New England weather and want to be at a premier academic institution. And I think that's important because when you get kids that want to do well academically, they inherently have good discipline traits. And they want to work hard. And our practice facility, which is in Gamble Pavilion, is surrounded by 15 national championship banners. So there are high expectations, and I get to go to head coaches meetings with several other coaches that are in their halls of fames. So the level of expectation of excellence at UConn is pretty high.
You mentioned the recruiting. I think a lot of people understand basketball recruiting, football recruiting, even baseball recruiting, but what's it like to recruit someone to play golf at the University of Connecticut, UConn?
Well, I think the most important thing they need to know is that they're going to play a tremendously challenging tournament schedule. They're going to have some outstanding facilities. At their fingertips. And, we look for the right institutional fit first. If you could shoot 66 and you won't be a good fit for our culture, then we'll just go a different direction. We won't skimp when it comes to that, trying to get to the next level with people that don't share our culture. So it's important that we screen through these guys, and our assistant coach, Max Major, does a tremendous job of identifying kids, and he'll watch, he'll look for the things that he and I key on, and he'll make sure that we adhere to those 100%, because, golf's a team sport played individually. And when you travel as a team, one apple can really ruin the bunch, and especially on a golf team because you're so small. So it's important you find the right folks to be and share your vision of what you want to do with your program.
Right. And tell the listeners a little bit about what a typical season looks like. Of course, this one unfortunately got interrupted, but from the preseason, travel, fall season, winter break, spring season, it's a completely different structure than really any other collegiate sport, wherein that the college golf season almost is two different seasons that come together as one season.
Sam, that's a great question, because I think people don't realize that typically, sports play in one semester. And then they use the other semester for training, and they call it the unofficial non-championship segment. For us, our fall work ranks us for the spring. And then our non-championship segment usually is our training time after our last event in the fall, and then to up until the week before finals, and then anytime we can squeeze in before school starts in the spring. So, our guys are constantly going to the golf course, playing, competing, qualifying, working out, going to study hall. So it's a full-time job. The NCAA has us locked in on 20 hours a week with our team, and that includes workouts. So we need to be very disciplined and diligent with our time. So goes back to the recruiting question. Like we need to find the right guys that can handle that workload. And it's important because academically, UConn is you can't hide a kid at UConn. That's for sure.
We're talking with Dave Pezzino, the 13th year head coach of the UConn golf team. And you mentioned the academics, and I wanted to get into that a little bit. The last 2 years, your student athletes have been honored as a national all-academic team and earned its 14th consecutive NCAA Public Recognition Award, signifying an APR in the top 10% of its sport in the country. How much pride do you take in your players succeeding not only on the course, but also in the classroom?
Well, it's a big deal for what we do, because it's important to understand that only 1% of college guys are able to move on and play professionally. So we've got to make sure that when they come through UConn, that they leave with options in their back pocket, whether it be to go play professionally somewhere or to go sit in a boardroom and do an interview with a board member for a job. It's important that we prepare these young men for life. And I think the student athlete experience at UConn is second to none. The things that we have in place are really special. The academic support, our strength and conditioning folks, mental health, our nutrition staff, all those things are in place to make sure that the student athlete can be successful on the course, on the court, the pitch, the field, whatever, but also in life. We're teaching these young men how to become men. And I think it's important that we give them everything they need to be able to be successful after they leave UConn, because the University of Connecticut is such a strong brand on its own that, you know, it'll get you in the boardroom, but can you handle the interview, right? And I think that's an important aspect. And I'm really proud of the fact that by the time this thing airs, it'll be our guys did it again. They scored another perfect score in the APR,
Right.
once again. So pretty proud of that, and very grateful for Victoria Simonoff, our academic support staff. She does a tremendous job. But again, it's an important aspect of college golf because our guys are away from campus, a lot. So we've got to make sure that their academics are in order, because then they can play with a clear head, and traveling isn't so stressful for them.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about your journey before you came to UConn. Immediately before coming to Storrs, you were an assistant coach for Mike Small at the University of Illinois. Mike Small, one of the top coaches in college golf. What did you learn from him during the one season you were in Champaign?
So it was Mike is one of those special people that is he says very little but does so much that I thought I worked hard when I got to Illinois, but that wasn't the case. He when he said he was going to be in the office at 6:30, he was in the office at 6:30 a.m. and he would go to practice and he would be there till 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And it was just really special to see how hard somebody worked and how much he loves the University of Illinois. I think that's that was a trait that I saw that I was pretty impressed with. I think the other thing was that you can't coach every guy the same way. I've watched him, work with one player who swung the club one way, and he would just completely flip and talk to another guy about something else, and he was able to do it on the fly. I think great PGA professionals do that every day in their lesson tee, but I don't know how many college coaches can say they know when to say the right thing and when not to say anything at all. And I think Coach Small is really good at that.
And going back even a little bit further, you went from being a head coach for 11 years at Florida International for their women's golf team to then becoming the assistant for Illinois. What was the inspiration? What was the desire to move from being a head coach to an assistant coach?
Well, the opportunity to work at a Big Ten school for arguably one of the best coaches in all of college golf. I would say he's most certainly one of the best in our business. And the opportunity to be at a facility that was just opening that was really exciting for me. And I think we made a great team together. He was awesome to me. Still is. We get to spend some great time on the phone here and there, but we both have our own programs and kids now, so it's been a little bit busier for both of us. But I guess my career, I started out as a head coach at St. Thomas as a student head coach.
Wow.
And before I took the FIU women's job, and I don't think I've ever followed a traditional quote unquote path to a head coach position. So it didn't matter to me. I didn't care. I just wanted to become better at my craft.
Right. And the beauty with really any profession is that there's tons of different ways that you can do it. And as long as you get to where you want to be at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's so true.
Let's talk a little bit about, we've talked a little bit about the team success at UConn, but you've also seen some of your players have past and present succeed individually. For instance, last year, Jimmy Herval finished tied for second at the Louisville Regional, the NCAAs. There was an all-UConn semifinal matchup in the Connecticut Amateur between Finn Boynton and Chandler Morris. And then former Husky Eric Dietrich qualified and played in the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. What does it mean for you to see your guys compete, not only while they're at UConn, but also while they're still at UConn in other events, but also after they graduate and move on from their days at Stores?
Well, it's a huge source of pride because there's a lot of great players that came before me, and those guys are still playing well. Even here in Connecticut, Tim Heaney, who's a tremendous player in his own right still, and team captain, one of the only guys to ever make it to regionals and NCAA play. And again, he's still an elite player. There's a lot of guys in Connecticut that are still playing. Mike Caprio, who's still a great player. He's living in where's he living now? Oh, South Carolina. But I think for us to put our blueprint, I guess not really our blueprint, but
Paw print?
Yeah, paw print, I guess is a better term. For what our guys have done is special. I'm excited for our guys. We have 6 guys currently playing in the PGA Tour development series. We've had 2 guys. Brian Hughes was our first guy to have web.com status back when it was still called the web. We've had guys, Eric Dietrich also had Mackenzie Tour status last year. Zach Zabak most recently has Korn Ferry Tour status. Matt Carroll's playing all over the world. He's originally from Connecticut. So I take great pride in our Connecticut guys for sure. But, Jimmy Herval too. That was an unbelievable week with Jimmers down in Louisville. The weather was crazy, blowing sideways some days. And he beat the tail off of a lot of guys from Oklahoma State, which he should be really proud about. That is one heck of a golf program. And all those guys are chasing their dreams. But the most important thing is that UConn prepared them. And if those guys ever decided to not play, they'd be successful in anything that anything that they wanted to do.
Yeah, for sure. And I wanted to leave you off on this one. If there's any junior players listening or any parents listening and their kids want to play college golf, what if a kid comes up to you and says, I want to play college golf, what do you tell them so that they can prepare for that?
Yeah, it's a time management piece, because you can find guys that can really play, but then they don't manage their time well, and then they just can't survive college golf. So I think it's important for them to work really hard on their short game, and to be able to drive the ball not only long but straight, because I think the fairway is a lot easier place to play from. Mark Brody's book would tell you that. And it's important that people understand that everybody in college hits it 300 plus. There's so many guys and women golfers that hit it a long way, that when I played in college golf, if you had 3 or 4 guys in the field that week that could hit it 300, that'd be a lot. Now, if you have 3 or 4 guys that don't hit it 300, that's a lot. So it's becoming more and more of a power game. But it's important that you have a strong short game that's not a liability. It's more of an asset. So I would tell them to play as many tournaments as they can. Let the golf ball and the golf course be their number one instructor. But go see good instruction. There's a lot of great teachers in Connecticut, but they need to learn how to play, and they need to learn how to play golf as a game, not golf swing. Does that make sense, Sam?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think a lot of juniors are like, oh well, this guy, Todd Smith is the best instructor, and kids that go work with him play tour or whatever. I don't think that it's an instructor that makes the player. It's how hard the young men or young women are willing to work, how they're willing to put the time in to learn how to score. Because I think I see a lot of juniors that get caught up with the idea that if they can post a couple social media pictures or videos of them practicing with a divot pattern on the ground, or them at the range, or them at the gym, like nobody cares. Like I get excited when I see people that hold up trophies.
Right.
That stuff gets me excited. Not the, oh, hey, at the office, hashtag getting work done, and it's a picture of a divot pattern. Like nobody cares, because nobody realizes how hard tour players work. And they work extremely hard so that when they get on the golf course, all that stuff is super easy. And I think that gets lost. I think kids today sometimes get lost on the range, and they try to perfect their swing, because I think the search for perfect really ruins a player. And I think I heard Billy Harmon say this at a clinic one time, that, leave that kid alone. Don't coach the genius out of them. And I think that gets lost, right? Like there's a really good collegiate player who plays at Oklahoma, and he plays cross-handed. If you were to change that, what would you do, right?
Right.
Like you take all the great game out of him. Or, think about David Duval's strong grip.
Mm-hmm.
Would you change Jim Furyk? Jim
Right.
Furyk's won about $70 million. And I think his father gets zero credit for being a great instructor just by making sure that he did things efficiently. Well, I think that's impressive in its own right. But to go back to the junior golf idea, I think it's get them playing more, right? Like get them playing in U.S. kids events and Connecticut PGA. And then, obviously up here, it's important for them to go play the Challenge Cup stuff. Great tournaments, run a lot, and, make sure they're playing in the CSGA Junior. Go try to qualify, even if it's out of your reach. I mean, Watertown is in awesome shape that time of year. The field is always super deep. So, I mean, it's important to play in tournaments, because having a good-looking golf swing, it doesn't mean anything. Posting good scores, being comfortable being under par, or being comfortable at 2 or 3 over par, it doesn't matter. You just need to learn how to play, and that's something that that's something I think gets lost.
Well, I think any junior player or who would be listening to that has some good advice in there, and certainly something that if they're not doing it already, with sort of this time right now to recalibrate, is hopefully something that they can take with them when we hopefully resume playing golf in the near future here.
Wow. I know our guys are excited about getting it going again in CSGA events. So our guys are chomping at the bit. So our boys always take, especially our Connecticut guys, take a lot of pride in the CSGA championships, and we'll be out there supporting our boys and all the other great players at the CSGA events as soon as we get going again.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. He's been Dave Pezzino, the head coach of the UConn golf team. He joined us here on 15 Minutes with the CSGA. Dave, thanks so much for taking some time to chat with us.
Thanks, Sam. I appreciate it. All the best to you guys. Be healthy and safe.
Thanks so much, Dave. Again, Dave Pezzino, the head coach of UConn Golf. I've been Sam Dossler. Thanks so much for listening.